Welcome. Apologize for the late start. The other two of our inductees are in the hotel, but as you can imagine from having been here a few days yourself, that task of getting around this hotel can take some time, so they're in the process of finding this room. Good afternoon, my name is Bruce Howard. I'm the Publications and Communications Director for the National Federation of State High School Associations and Director of the National High School Hall of Fame. And we thank all of you for coming today as we introduce the 2012 class of the National High School Hall of Fame. We certainly welcome all of our media here in attendance today, as well as all the family and friends of our inductees and members from our state associations. Before we get started and introduce the class, it's my pleasure to introduce Bob Gardner, the Executive Director of the NFHS, to provide some opening comments. Bob?
Thank you, Bruce. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. It's a special treat for me to welcome you. This is the 30th induction to the National High School Hall of Fame. And I might be slightly prejudiced, but I think I'm accurate. This may be the toughest Hall of Fame of all of them to be a member. When you consider the pool of candidates from every high school in the nation to be involved, when each year over 11 million young people participate in either sports or performing arts activities. And then you consider that over the years, because everybody who's ever gone to high school is eligible, you're in a very select class. And what a class this is. The talent in this class, the statistics alone are a little bit staggering. So we're delighted to have you with us. I know you don't want to hear any more from me, and that's quite all right. Let's get on with the press conference and hear from the real stars of the show, these wonderful people who are up here with us. Please enjoy your time with us, and if our staff can assist you in any way, we certainly will. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. The National High School Hall of Fame was started by the NFHS in 1982 to honor outstanding high school athletes, coaches, officials, administrators, and others. And then in 2003, those in the arts became eligible for our Hall of Fame. And tomorrow evening's induction ceremony, as Bob said, will be the 30th, and will be up to 398 members in the National High School Hall of Fame. And certainly it's the highest recognition that anyone can attain as a high school athlete or person in the arts. It's indeed my pleasure to introduce the 2012 class of the National High School Hall of Fame. Starting from my right down here, from Downers Grove South High School, 16 state speech championships, and a recent inductee in the National Forensics League Hall of Fame, Jan Heiteen. Our inductee in the administrative category probably needs no introduction to most of the people in this room. Bob Kanaby guided this organization for 17 years, was responsible for many new programs and services, and upholding the values of education-based athletics and activities was always at the top of his list. Bob Kanaby. We have two inductees in our officials category. First, from Clinton, South Carolina, 50 years as an official, officiated 55 state championships in football and basketball combined, Truman Owens. And from way up in Kanaby, Maine, where it's probably been a little cooler than it has here, one of the country's most respected soccer officials, 31-year career, officiated 17 state championships, and a former leader in the NFHS Officials Association, Bob White. Next, we have four outstanding coaches, two on my right and two on my left. First, From Georgia, Ronald Bradley recently concluded a 50-year career, won more than 1,000 games as a boys basketball coach and another 350 as a girls basketball coach, and coached 8 different schools and won 3 titles. Ron Bradley. Next, from Oregon, outstanding swimming coach from Beaverton, 56 years as a swimming coach, 59 years in coaching, still going strong at the age of 85, won 2 state boys swimming titles, 6 state girls swimming titles. Rod Harman. Our next coach is Larry Luitjens from Custer, South Dakota, the winningest basketball coach in state history, more than 700 victories, 7 state championships, and 5 runner-up finishes. Also known for some terrific reconciliation efforts with the Native Americans in South Dakota. Welcome, Larry Luitjens. And the member of this year's class from our host state of Tennessee, the winningest volleyball coach in the state, and the number 3 nationally, won more than 1,370 games as a volleyball coach in 48 years at East Ridge High School in Chattanooga, Catherine Neely. And then we have 4 outstanding former high school athletes in our class. First, top scorer in girls basketball history in Colorado with almost 3,000 points in her 4-year career in the early 80s. Averaged 44 points a game as a senior at Ridgeway High School, Tracy Hill. And from Iowa, our 3-sport athlete, Ames High School, basketball, football, track, Mr. Basketball in Iowa as a senior. Number 2 scorer in the state history, competed in 3 state championship teams in football. Number 3 scorer in Iowa State history, 10 years in the NBA, and now coaches basketball at Iowa State University, Fred Hoiberg. And one of the best high school basketball players in California history from Sacramento, led the state in scoring in 1982 with a 32.5 average, 4-year starter at Cal Berkeley, and 5-time All-NBA selection with the Phoenix Suns. And now the mayor of his hometown in Sacramento, California, Kevin Johnson. And one of the best quarterbacks in high school and college history from Birmingham, Alabama. Played at John Carroll High School in Birmingham and won the Heisman at Auburn in 1971. Now from college football coach at Samford University in Birmingham. Welcome, Pat Sullivan. I would concur with Bob, and I think we have a pretty outstanding class here. What do you think? To get us started, I'd ask in advance our class this year to briefly respond to this question. What do you treasure most about your involvement in high school sports, or in Jan's case, in high school arts, speech and debate programs, whatever the case might be? But just briefly, what is the one thing that comes to mind as you think about and treasure the most of your involvement in high school sports? And you're looking at me like you want to respond first. Catherine?
That's fine.
Okay. If you want to hold the mic to you.
I didn't know if we would go in order or alphabetical or how, but I'm have been asked this question many times since I've coached for so long. But when you've coached for 48 years and you've coached 2 sports, you come in contact with a lot of people. And yes, it's nice to win, but the thing that I treasure the most are friendships, relationships, because I had great mentors when I started. Now I try to be a mentor to a lot of people, and I do get a lot of phone calls. But the best thing about coaching right now is that I'm involved with kids' lives. I get to know their families. I have a great relationship with families. I try to. And I love to have the girls come back and see me. So if we win a game, that's great. If we win a championship, that's great. But that is all icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned, because my friendships and relationships mean more to me than anything. And thank you so much.
I could not agree with you more. When I think about the people that I told about this award, I think the person that was the most excited was my high school speech and drama teacher. I have been friends with him since I was a wee lass, and I still go to him for advice on so many things, and even if I didn't, he would give me that advice, because once a coach, always a coach. And he has been a mentor through the years, and as I think about your question, I think about all of the students that I've had the privilege to work with. They are the thing I treasure the most, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's on stage, whether it's competitively, or other students that I get to enjoy that are athletes in my school, many of whom are both athletes and actors. Getting to work with those students and watch them grow not only as performers or competitors, but mostly as people, as individuals with character, who are leaders, and who really make the difference. I think we all know that speech and theater, athletics, performing arts, all of those things, students that are involved in those things in high school, those are the leaders of tomorrow. We have the privilege to work with those individuals, and that is what I treasure the most. Thank you.
Okay. What Bruce failed to mention was the time restriction that he placed on these remarks, which makes it pretty difficult when you're here 50 plus years and 58 years, et cetera, to summarize that in a brief statement. So please bear with me if I run over about 3 or 4 seconds, Bruce. I tried to look at this in a number of ways. I've been fortunate and blessed to participate, first and foremost. And as a participant, interscholastic sports, to me, provided not only point after point of experiences on how to deal with situations that life is going to put in front of you and how to deal with them well and with composure, et cetera, but that's what you get from activities and fine arts and participation in sports. How do you deal with what life is going to put in front of you? Surely will. So that's the first benefit as one looks at in terms of what's been taken out of this. And the second has been, and it's already been said, it put me on a pathway that basically intersected my life with the lives of people who have dedicated their lives to young people and to serving this great nation through that dedication to those young people. Moving on, it provided me with a 50-plus year career as an individual serving those same young people and the generations that followed my generation. And to do that as a teacher, coach, and administrator at the local, at the state, and at the national level was truly a blessing and an opportunity that certainly cannot be duplicated in far and away too easily as far as other individuals are concerned. So I've been blessed in that particular way as well. And then as you reach a certain point in life, not to get maudlin about this, but there's a period in times, and as you look at where you are in your life, and looking back is further than looking forward, and it happens to all of us, you come to the realization of wanting to analyze what that effectiveness might have been, what those years have meant to various individuals. And Emerson probably said it best when he very simply asked the question, did it matter that you were here? And he went on to say, whether it influenced the life of a single child or a small patch of ground, did it matter that you were here? And it was highlighted again just a few months ago where Pat and I, and I'm blessed with a relationship, a 49-year relationship with my beautiful wife, Pat, have 3 great sons and 4 grandchildren who have tremendous potential and all involved. And a few months ago, we attended our 11-year-old granddaughter's first scholastic play as a 4th grader. And she sang a song that is taken from the musical Annie. And there are 2 lines in that song that struck me as I listened to her sing that song. And they go something like this. I've been changed for the better because I've known you. I've been changed for the good because of you. And for me, to hear her sing that was so touching to me, because I think that's what all of these folks here have tried to do in terms of helping young people and help this great nation continue to produce the kinds of citizens that we need to keep America strong and to keep America great. And quite frankly, for everyone who's involved in this business, I can only wish for you the same blessings that it's brought to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Pat, you want to?
I'll go if you give me time to put my glasses on.
Okay, not a problem.
My wife asked me what I was going to say when I got up here. I said, I don't know, I'll think of something. And, you know, hearing all of you, Catherine, what you talked about 9 years ago, and pardon my raspy voice, but I had throat cancer. The doctor gave me about a 40% chance to live. You know, over the last 25 or 30 years, I've been out recruiting. And when you're going out trying to recruit kids, you're trying to sell them something. Well, I think that all of us, we're going to make 3 decisions in our lives that are going to affect us more than any that we do. The first one is our spiritual decision. At some time, the good Lord will become the most important thing to you. The second one is where you choose to go to college or start a career. And then the third one is whoever you choose to marry and raise a family with. And my best friend, my wife of 43 years, Jean, sitting right back there. I know without all 3 of those decisions, I wouldn't be sitting here today. But what you get out of athletics, when it's all said and done, it's the relationships that last for a lifetime. Coach Lou Holtz was speaking at the high school clinic down in Tuscaloosa not long ago, and he made a statement that I thought summed up everything. He said, you know, our society today, everybody's trying to see how much money they can make, how much they can accumulate. But when they die, what do they have? Nothing. Your high school coach, we need them. If you change one life, what have you left? A legacy. On the way up here, I shared with my daughter, I got a letter 2 days ago from one of my players. He's in the Peace Corps over in Jamaica, and he was just talking about how much athletics meant to him, how it was the common thread that even though they couldn't talk, you know, share the English language very well, he was trying to teach remedial kids how to read, that the common thread was sports. And he just wanted to thank for being involved, because what sports teaches you is desire, discipline, all the things that what makes it great. And for us to be in America, to be able to do it, is something special. And I, too, like everybody else, I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. We'll move that mic over and let Kevin respond there.
All right, thank you. I want to just congratulate all the inductees, first of all. This is pretty cool to hang out with all these legends up here on the dais. I think what I value most in terms of my high school experience were lessons of discipline and work ethic. I think most important for me. I certainly agree with relationships and everything that was said so far, but I wasn't a very good basketball player in 9th grade when I first started out. I barely made the team, and it used to make me mad that those other players were so much better than me. And at that point, I said, I'm going to outwork them, and I'm going to have the discipline to come early and stay late. And as time goes on, you start to the great thing about sports is you can measure your success and your progress. So each week I can see myself getting a little bit better, and each month starting to catch up to some of the better players. And then pretty soon the box scores reflected more wins and more points and more assists. And that commitment of and that mindset of working really hard and discipline is something that still guides me today. So now that I'm the mayor of Sacramento, California, I'm also learning sportsmanship too, being a politician. That's for another, maybe another question. So yeah, I think the lessons and the foundation of discipline and work ethic are still serving me well as a mayor. So thank you.
Truman?
Yes, sir. I have had the opportunity to move around the state of South Carolina through officiating. I met many, many officials, many, many coaches, made a big difference in my life. They have become a friend for life, and it's a band of brothers is the way I look at it. I've been in sports, and I'm glad I got in there because I feel like I have been able to help younger kids all my days, and hope I had some influence on them. And I also, in a district at my state, I work with younger officials, try to help them in any way that I can, and I'm just proud to be a part of that. Also, my family's back here, my wife, family, and I got about 10 officials back here that all of them in the South Carolina Hall of Fame. They're great, and I'm just proud of them. I want to say, too, I appreciate the opportunity for this awesome award that I got here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Truman. Bob?
First of all, I also would like to congratulate our class. Some great people here. My treasure, the same as everyone has spoken of, the relationships that you make and the friendships you make. All the years that I've been involved with sports, with the officials, with the coaches, with the administrators on all levels, local, state, and on the national level. All of us, including everyone here, their goal is to provide an equal opportunity and a safe playing environment for all students who enter into high school activities. I'd like to thank my family and all the people who supported me throughout the years, and especially to the people in the state of Maine who nominated me for this honor. And the executive director of the state of Maine is here. 2 years ago, I accepted an award from him, and the rule was 2 minutes, and he had the hook, and he has his hook here right now. So I will close. And again, this is probably the greatest, other than the birth of my children, my marriage, this is the greatest day of my life. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Get back down here, Fred.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say how honored I am to be a part of this wonderful class. And one story I'd like to share with somebody who's in the room with us here is my old high school basketball coach, Wayne Clinton. And people often talk about how you learn more from your high school coach than you do at any point over your career. And I've played at every level, going from high school to college basketball at Iowa State and playing 10 years in the NBA. And it's true. I learned more from Wayne Clinton than I did from any other person that I ever played for in any sport. And I'll never forget, my sophomore year, I had a very good year. I averaged about 24 points and 10 rebounds, and went into my first practice my junior year, and I thought it'd be pretty cool if I called Coach by his first name. So I called him Wayne at practice, and he let it go. And after practice was over, he called me into the office, and he didn't grab me by the shirt, but he grabbed me underneath my ribs. And he said, "Son, if you ever call me by my first name again, I'll kick your butt out of here so quick you won't know what happened." And it teaches you about respect, and that's what I learned most from Coach Clinton is the respect. I never called him Wayne again, and I still haven't to this day. He's always been Coach Clinton. But he taught me fundamentals, and that's the great thing about high school sports is the fundamentals that you learn and the teachers that you have. And it's certainly applying to what I'm doing today as a head coach at Iowa State University is the impact that we have on young people's lives. And Coach Clinton certainly had that on me. And then obviously the relationships that are built to grow up with the players that I played with. And my best sports accomplishment was in high school, winning state championships, 3 in track and 1 in basketball. Was the best sports accomplishment that I've had in a team sport. And I have Coach Clinton and Coach Legg, who was his assistant here as well. I certainly didn't learn it from my dad, who's sitting over here, who tried out for the 9th grade team, and by the time he got on the floor, his coaches had already gone home, so he quit the game. But he did teach me about academics and setting my priorities straight. But I can't tell you how honored I am to be here. It's great to be here with my family. We actually hopped in an RV out of Ames, Iowa, and made an 11-hour trek down here, and I had recruiting right after the ceremony tomorrow. So it's been a wonderful trip, and again, I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Tracy?
Thank you for this tremendous opportunity, and to the state of Colorado and Mr. Burt Borgman for nominating me. My entire family is here as well. It's amazing that everything that all of you have said is exactly what I have in my notes. And because I tend to get long-winded, I jotted a couple notes down, and a key word keeps coming up: relationships. And each one of you has spoken about that. What I treasure most about my involvement in high school sports and the impact, the absolutely tremendous impact a small town life has had on me, and who and what I stand for today. An example, living in such a school community taught me that being part of a team is so much more than X's and O's and wins and losses. It's all about relationships and building those relationships and learning how those relationships will then affect each stage and every stage of your life and mold you into the person you are today. And again, to piggyback on what every inductee has mentioned so far, family, God, and the relationships that you build along the way, specifically my high school coach. Same story, similar to yours. We can talk more about that later. Again, what an honor, and I'm just so thrilled to be here and to share with all of you.
Thank you. Coach Luitjens?
You know, Kevin said something about legends, and when you've been involved in basketball all your life, as I have, and you look at the 4 athletes and you think about the amount of basketball there, and I've definitely heard of the 3 gentlemen before I heard of Tracy, but I also have to say that Tracy is much better looking than any of them, and she's much There was, Pat mentioned something about Lou Holtz's comment about money. Apparently, Lou doesn't know many high school coaches when he's talking about money. But when Catherine got done, I mean, I just wanted to reach over and grab the mic and say ditto, because she really said it. She really said it. And relationships are what it's all about. There's just no way to put a value on the relationships that you encounter and develop and earn, and I hope you earn over your lifetime in athletics. And I just feel very blessed. I told our executive secretary, Mr. Carney, I was going to tell a story about him, but I'm not going to, Wayne. I'm not. I'll pass that on. But thank you, Wayne, for everything. I appreciate it. And thank you. It's an honor.
Coach Bradley?
Well, when I put my talk together, I had planned to try to stay to a minute, but I wanted to thank the man who nominated me, but I cut him out because, of the length of time I had to talk. But Dr. Swearingen, I want to thank you for being here. After hearing some of these other minutes, I think I can get you in now. I had cut you out. When I started coaching, I realized real quick that I had a chance to work with young people and touch their lives. And as I look back on the thing that I treasure most is that opportunity that I had with young people. When I first started out, I had a job, and several things happened that taught me that I had something bigger than a job. I had a chance to touch young people's lives. I had a chance to teach them something besides how to catch, how to kick a football, or how to shoot a basketball. And through the years, I've seen some of those young people soar, and it makes me feel good when I feel like I might have touched their life. And every now and then, some of them, maybe you touch them in a way and not as an important way. My wife, Jan, who I started courting when she was 14, and we've been married 58 years, she and I were visiting in this little school where I had taught, and going in, I couldn't help but say, do you think they remember those things I taught them? Do you think some of them really know how hard I worked for them? Do they realize how I worked on the weekends and all the things I did? Well, we went into the building, and a few teachers hugged me, and there were a few students still there that remembered me, and I was a little disappointed. I worked hard for those people. So when I started out, I decided I'd go to the restroom, and this was the school that encompassed the kindergarten all the way to the senior class. So we had all ages, and I went in there, and I was a little disappointed. I'd worked hard for those kids. And I went in the restroom, and this little boy looked up, and he said, Coach Bradley, and I still remember what you taught me. Man, my chest popped out. I started feeling good, thinking, I'm glad. And before I could say anything, he said, to take one paper towel at a time.
Good luck at topping that one.
It's really been an honor. It's unbelievable, this honor. I've been very fortunate to have been coaching for 58, soon to be 59 years, hopefully. It's hard putting into words how I feel about that, but I do know I've had a lifetime endowment of pleasure, wonderful relationships, and young people are constantly rejuvenating me, giving me new life. And I've heard said before that the shortest speeches and coaches are the best. Thank you.
See, I saved the best for last. Very good. All right, now I want to give those out here, our members of our media, to opportunity to ask any questions of those here on our stage here and any others of you who might have questions.
I'd like one for Ron Bradley. Wow, that's something, coaching boys and girls. I could never do that. How did you do that? I only coached 126 varsity teams. In the smallest school, you can do it all. Somebody'd come in and say, hey, we're going to start a lacrosse team. We got a new student. And they say, we're going to pay $50. They say, oh, Coach Bradley will take that one. And then I've been in the largest school. That's where we set the national record, 129 straight wins on the home court. And so, young people are young people. They all have the same problems. They all have the same hurts. And certainly you want to touch their lives, and it's been a thrill to have that opportunity to touch some lives. Thank you.
Next.
Take questions from the audience first.
You bet. Pete.
Mr. Kanaby, isn't it ironic? 1993, your first summer meeting, correct?
That's correct, Peter.
And where was that?
Nashville, Tennessee.
19 years later, being in that.
Out in the exact same spot.
Talk about the first couple years.
Oh,
Very briefly, could you just?
Well, there were challenges, but we all face challenges in life, and quite frankly, some of the comments that you've heard up here today were responsible for an individual being able to rise to meet those challenges, but nothing that's ever been done within this federation that's been positive for young people has been done by any chief administrator, any executive director. It's been done by those people who work so hard in the state associations, and Steve Timko in New Jersey, just to name one, because he did nominate me for this award. And I'm so proud of that. But those are the people who really do it. Those are the people who really do the kinds of things that I hope some of my efforts have helped to change an individual's life. And beyond them, beyond those state associations, are the individuals who are represented up here today, those who deal on a direct day-to-day basis with young people. And we cannot be in any more of a more important time in the life of this country to underscore what is the core philosophy of education-based athletics and fine arts activities. Those are we are the only nation in the world that provides the kinds of representative opportunities to our nation's secondary school population and below than any other place in the world. It's one of the things that make us unique. We must never, ever lose sight of that, because if we are to continue to be the great nation that we want, we've got to redouble our efforts to make certain that our standards and those important values of honesty and trustworthy and dedication and hard work and respect have been noted here today, continue to go on generation to generation, so that my grandchildren and your grandchildren are going to have the same opportunities for growth that we've all enjoyed up here. So it's really been a wonderful trip. I have to say that this is the 30th induction. My wife Pat and I have been to 29 of them. So, and the cadre of people that are recognized each year just continues to rise. So we are doing the job, but we must make sure that we understand that it's not done by itself anymore. It's got to be planned, it's got to be worked on, it's got to be pursued day in and day out for the betterment of those young people we serve.
Coach Neely, you were hired at East Ridge right out of college. Besides Title IX, the huge change, one or two other positive, big changes in high school sports you've seen in the last 48 years?
I think opportunity for young women has to be the top that I've seen. And I think the number two would be just the caliber of athlete that's there now. There's just, they're just more athletic. They work harder at what they want to do. They're more dedicated, and probably they go hand in hand because of the opportunity that's there for young women. But I really think that's probably what I've seen the biggest change.
This is for the athletes, and I'll ask Pat first, since we're so proud of him. Can y'all, you athletes, do you have a defining moment in your careers, particularly at a younger age, when you went from being that athlete to that next level athlete that maybe changed your life?
Ron, I don't know that I can put one particular thing on it, but each year around the Heisman presentation, reporters from all over the country, they call, and they want to know which game do you remember the most that you treasure. And when I tell them it was a high school game, they, it kind of takes them off guard. But I won't ever forget, I went to John Carroll, as you know, Catholic high school. And Ramsey was the big city school that had won the state championship or not the state, but the city championship for a couple of years, and we were going to play them. The first time that the private school was ever going to play the city school. And so we knew some of their players. And on Thursday afternoon, we were practicing, and a lot of them ride by and they're shouting, what they're going to do to us. And we had a whole 23 players on our team. And that that Friday night, we beat them 19-13, and you know that's something that I won't ever forget.
Just for you other athletes, please.
These guys are both pointing at me, so I guess well, I wasn't near the player that Kevin was, and I never came close to averaging 44, Tracy, so I was never the player that you were either. But I agree with Pat. It was a high school game. We were playing Indianola High School, who was one of the top teams in the state, and we were ranked number 1 at the time. It was supposed to be a great game, and they were talking all kinds of smack leading into this game, and it was such a snowy. It snows in Iowa quite a bit, and it was a snowy day, and my parents couldn't even make it down to the game. But Johnny Orr, who was my college coach at Iowa State, ended up coming down, and we got off to a great start, and I ended up scoring the most I've ever scored in a game at 53 points through 3 quarters, and we beat them 108-60. And it was at that point where Johnny Orr, who was still a little unsure about me, went up to Coach Clinton and said, all right, we got to get him. We got to find a way to get him. And then made my way to Iowa State, where, I'm from Ames, and met my wife, Carol, in high school, and, had great years. So I think that's probably the game that did it for me.
Ladies first.
Ladies first, he's saying, for those of you that can't hear.
Boy, that's a really difficult question. I don't think it was a game that had anything to do with scoring points or necessarily a state title game. Probably the games that had defining moments for me were games that we lost, and just how to learn to deal with losses, and that just because the score may dictate something on a scoreboard doesn't necessarily mean that you lose the game as a team or as a player. Maybe I'll think after Kevin gives his take. From the high school to the college to the pro rank, I'll try to add a little more.
Tracy's passing the ball to me right now.
I very rarely pass.
We feel like we've known each other for years. I appreciate the question. I think all of us have probably a game or two that meant a great deal for us and to us in high school, college, and beyond. And sticking with my theme of just learning to work hard and discipline through sports, my freshman year, unlike these two who played varsity sports, I was on the freshman basketball team. And both of them scored more points in one season than I did my whole high school career. So in 9th grade, I only averaged 5 points on my basketball team. And I barely made the team. And as much as we all talk about relationships, had I not made the team, I wouldn't have had those relationships that we all talk about. And that's why the work ethic and discipline stand out for me. But there was this one guy that played on a rival team, and every time we'd play against him, he would pick my pocket and he'd steal the ball, and I'd try to shoot and he'd block it. And that happened 3 or 4 times during my freshman year. And I didn't like him very much. And at the end of our freshman season, our record was 2-23. So to Tracy's point, I mean, you learn a lot from losing, believe it or not. But it's also very motivational as well. And when I say I worked my butt off every day, from that moment on, during the summertime, I'd play at the park where there'd be, construction workers out there playing, and I'd go out there and play with the construction workers, and they'd have their boots on, and I didn't take any pity. I mean, I just went after them. And the next game, after the last game of my freshman season, was during the summertime against the same kid, and his name was Kevin Nixon. I remember him. It's like I used to dream about this guy at night. I mean, I like girls, but I did dream about this guy at night. So Kevin Nixon would pop into my dreams every night. Anyway, I see him on the basketball court during the summer league game, and the most points I scored in my freshman season was 12 points, and it was the last game of the season. So, I mean, I thought it was a big deal to get in double digits. Fred scored that like in 2 minutes in a game. And this particular game, when I played against him, he didn't block my shot, and he didn't pick my pocket, and our team beat his, and I scored 23 points. And I remember leaving that gym feeling like I could do anything. It was just such a powerful moment. And the reason why it's so vivid for me today is that's when it became very clear that if you work your butt off and you don't settle and you know nothing's free in life, that you can make your own outcomes. You can make your own luck. And this guy, Kevin Nixon, I haven't seen him since.
I thought of something else quickly.
I haven't dreamt about him either.
Hearing that these gentlemen had to try out for a team is very different from my experience, where possibly 8 or 9 girls would not try out. That was our team. And we won a state title with 9. So my freshman year, knowing this and that very few girls were going to be part of the team, it became very clear, it became very evident that if we were going to make it to another level, that I had a lot of work to do, because being from a small town and the economics and such, we weren't able to travel as a team to go to camps and so on and so forth. So I just set my sights that I would do all I could to get my teams to the next level. So that was very defining, probably my freshman year.
We'll take a couple more and then need to have some time for possible one-on-ones and then got an event at 5. So a couple more. Anybody? Ralph?
This is to our officials, please. I think it's fair to say there are more resources available to officials now than there's ever been before. But what are some things that you don't find in the books and videos that you'd like to pass on to other officials?
I would like to answer that. It's common sense. It's not, yes, it's black and white, but I found in officiating there's an awful lot of gray. And this is where you have to use your judgment, and where many officials, they are so strict because the rule says this, that it takes away actually from the game. And of course, I'm old-fashioned and all this video stuff and all this electronics. It used to be great to sit down at the National Federation soccer interpretation meetings and talk face-to-face. But anyhow, this thing, I think this whole thing, just be aware of where there's gamesmanship being played. Be out there, and if at the end of the game they have no idea who the officials are or were for that game, you've done your job. But here again, it's just being able to do the practical application of the rules. Truman?
Nobody's going to ask me one. I'm going to tell you 2 or 3 I had. I had a game. I booked junior high and JV football officials. Had this particular game one day, and we were short of officials. So I got a son back there, and in the Hall of Fame, I got another son that really never got in officiating too much. We were short of officials one day, and I went and put him on the uniform. I said, now, weigh about 270, so you know he's an umpire. I put him behind. I told him, you just get behind the defense and mark that spot. That's all you got to do. No flag. We didn't give him a flag or a whistle or nothing. Late in the game, we had several calls that hurt the home team. And the game ended, they got beat. We was heading up the field there to get out, and they started hollering and said, the only one who knows what's going on is that big old fella out there. They didn't know nothing about it. I had one tell me I had arthritis of the eyes. Another I'd like to tell you about. My wife's been trying to get me to get out. She said I'm getting old, and I didn't believe it, see. But anyway, I was on city council 41 years. Got beat a couple years ago. Didn't know why. One of my fellow officials come up and told me, I can tell you why you got beat. I said, why? He said, most of your voters have died, so.
I really wondered why you put me over here next to these referees.
Is there one more out there? Susan?
I'm just curious if any of the other folks on our panel were involved in activities, fine arts activities, in addition to their successful athletic and coaching, officiating careers. And then also hear from Jan, she mentioned she balances coaching the student athlete as well in fine arts and how that is a different autonomy.
Anyone up there?
I can reply. I was refereeing a state high school soccer game. They introduced the players and all. A small school was playing. And so they announced the school was going to play the national anthem. Well, say it's small band, maybe 20. It seems as though 20 people started out at a different spot in the national anthem. So we had no idea what it was. And halfway through, they stopped. And we looked at each other and blew the whistle, and off we went. So that is my relationship with fine arts, I guess.
I think you have to rescue this, Jan.
Anybody? Was anybody in activities or a little student council maybe? Or no time for that. Okay. I was not in athletics either. My career in I'm 5'10", so pretty good for the potential to be a women's athlete, but I was knocked over by a little girl that was about 5 feet tall at my first basketball practice, sprained my ankle, went over and started doing speech and theater. Otherwise, who knows why I might have been here? It's hard to say. But in terms of working with student athletes, one of the things, I teach in a large suburban high school, taught 3,000 students, and we tried to do whatever we can so that students that are interested in any sort of activity, any sort of athletics, can do both things. Now that's very difficult when you have an elite athlete, and sometimes we have to be, quite frank and say, that's just not a possibility. But if we have the opportunity to give the student the opportunities to do both, we do so. I had a student athlete a number of years ago who was on the state championship football team. He was the captain of the football team. He also won 2 state championships in individual events. He was also a poetry reader and an actor. So, and had the lead in 2 musicals. So it's basically, a question of balance. If students want to do both things, I think we do whatever we can to allow them to do both things, with the recognition that many times elite athletes aren't able to do that.
Having had the opportunity, excuse me, Bruce, if I may, to address your question as well, there's a great deal of consistency as well as difference between sports and activities, and that is not in conflict with each other in my mind. Both serve a specific purpose, and one looks at the kinds of things that you have to put forth, as Kevin said, in order to become successful in the sport area. You have to do the same kinds of things and make the same kind of commitment to sing a song right, to deliver the correct line in a play. You can stand on a free throw line with the score tied and 1 shot left to break it and win the game for yourself in front of thousands of people you don't even know. And to walk out on a stage and deliver a line in front of thousands of people you don't even know, and to do both effectively, not only for yourself, but for your team and for your fellow cast members, that although those 2 situations may appear to be different, they're absolutely not different at all. And frankly, if you miss the free throw, you've got to live with that decision. And if you flub that line, you've got to live with that decision too. And you need the same kind of intestinal fortitude to deal with it both on levels, those same levels. So I see a great consistency between the 2, which is why this organization represents both.
I'd like to say one other thing, please, sir. Bruce Hewlin back here. South Carolina High School League. If it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't be here. Got a great staff. They do a great job, and I just appreciate him. One other thing, what was it I was going to say? Go ahead, I'll get it in.
What do you think about this class, huh?
I found out what it was. I had a brother inducted in the Hall of Fame here in 1999. He's deceased now. I just like to say, I wish he was here. Thanks.
Bruce?
I'm sorry?
I don't want to take any credit, but the guy doesn't know me. But Tim Christian was your coach, I think, when you got the Heisman Award at Auburn. I think you worked with you. He was one of my players.
Oh, well, he's a great guy, and actually, Tim was he was a GA when my freshman year, and then he went on to coach the varsity, coaching the wideouts 1 year, and then he left and went into business, made a lot of money, and doing well. But what a good guy he was, and also what a great athlete he was.
Truman's brother Sam Owens was inducted in '99, and there's a person in the audience out here who was also inducted in that class in '99, Dick Rosetta, Dick's out there. And next to Jim Holzman, a 2003 inductee in our Hall of Fame. I knew when I started that there would be others. There's Bernie Sago out there, 1993 inductee. And Dan Washburn from last year's class. Good to have you here. All right, thank you much. At this time, we'll give opportunities for any one-on-ones, and we will see our inductees at 5 o'clock at our reception. Thank you.
See, such a family
We put the red and yellow cards in our pocket.